Welcome to Authenticity FM. We are thrilled to be with you again to have a really fun, pretty unstructured, pretty important conversation about some things that are coming up. I'm Phil Corri. I am joined by my friends and co-hosts, Mike Sable and Corri Spiegel. And today, we're going to be talking about ICMA 2025. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, so it's October. The conference is almost here. We are here to tell you everything you need to know about how to have an amazing conference experience. The best part about this entire discussion is that Mike Sable, our least prepared member of the trio among us, has given us an outline of things that he would like to cover. We're going to see how that goes, but I've got to tell you, I'm pretty excited that I get to see you guys in real life in just a few weeks.
Well, it is going to be great. Tampa is just a few short weeks away, and I did prepare what we call the run of show, and I will freely admit that I had some AI help, and I actually haven't read it, so we're going to be in perfect shape. It's going to be great, I promise. Stay tuned. It's going to be terrific.
I don't think people really recognize how typical that is, that you haven't read it, that AI is involved, and that we're just going to wing it anyway, regardless of whatever got put together.
I think the good news is, based on my scroll through the sessions at ICMA, there's a lot on AI, so you might come away from the conference perhaps a little savvier than you are right now.
Listen, I'm coming out ahead because I'm starting with AI and I'm going in. So we are veterans of ICMA conferences. My very first conference, I believe, was in San Jose. I didn't know a single person that was going to be there. And so I have some sort of like tips and tricks on how to be engaging and how to like meet people. Phil, Corri, what was your first experience? How did you come to an ICMA conference?
My first conference was in Minnesota, was in Minneapolis, 2005. I vividly remember it being one of the most unique conference experiences I had had to that point, because it was overwhelmingly big. There were people everywhere. There were people back then. There were banks of computers so that you could sign in and check your email, because nobody had one of these little fun things carrying around with them. And it was awesome. It was weird though, because we're in Minneapolis and there's these skywalks all over the place. And I remember asking people, what are those for? And they're like, it's Minnesota. It's cold 11 and a half months of the year. It just doesn't happen to be cold this week. So it was great. It was a great conference.
I have to get to conferences in Minnesota and how one didn't happen at some point in the podcast. But my first conference was actually Kansas City. And as we've talked, I came to the ICMA family a little later than you guys did, because the first half of my career was in economic development. So I have a whole litany of IEDC conferences that I remember as fondly as you guys remember all these ICMA ones. But they've been a lot of fun. I noticed we're all wearing swag of different years, which is super cool. And I didn't wear my Austin one because 2 years ago, Mike, I think you'll remember, that was one of the more interesting weeks of my entire life. And I think that's exactly why I'm so looking forward to Tampa being just such a fresh start and a whole new experience for me this time.
So let's start. For people who've never been to an ICMA conference before, these are like milestone moments. I mean, this is where 5,000 of your closest colleagues are going to gather to go and to learn and connect and to talk about the profession that we know and love. And so over the course of your careers, I mean, these things do become sort of milestone markers. There are certain conferences and certain moments that stand out. So just for the benefit of the group, I actually did a little bit of prep. I'm not going to lie. I read this one thing, but there's a lot that goes on into Tampa. And so there's certain themes that you will see throughout in terms of the keynote speakers. One of them is about leading in a divisive environment. So how do you lead through division? Another one is, how do you lead with presence? If you've ever seen Amy Cuddy speak on TED Talks or on Instagram or all these things, She really talks about presence. And so, how do you lead with presence? Tuesday is going to be really special because it's about leading with legends. There are some giants in our profession who are going to be on stage on Tuesday talking about their careers, talking about kind of it's Julie Novak's Mount Rushmore of leaders in the organizations and in organizations. And then on Wednesday, we're talking about leading with love, which is Peter Kageyama is going to talk about how do you lead your communities with love. And I think there's a lot of richness that comes with that. I'm really excited for the lineup of keynote speakers. So just for folks to know, right, we're going to have, 5,000 attendees. I think it's going to be the second most attended ICMA conference in history. There's hundreds of sessions. There's the expo hall. There's all the vendors. It's not just professional development. It's just sort of information sharing and growth. So let's transition. How do you do a conference if you're a new person or if you're a veteran? How do you do it?
So I think you started off with the right thing, right? When you look at it, when you go to the website, it is entirely overwhelming that you just scroll and scroll and scroll because there's so many sessions. But those keynotes really are the cornerstones that I think you build your experience around. And then as I was looking through today and kind of preparing for this, I think there are certain topics that you want to learn from. Or one of the other perspectives is there are certain speakers, maybe people you admire that you want to hear from. And so those are kind of the next set of chess pieces I put in place. Are there specific topics that I want to learn more about? We kind of joked at the beginning, AI is going to be everywhere. But in my own professional experiences, like a couple of them that I wrote down, crisis communication, it's probably a session I would have never attended. And in hindsight, having lived through some of the experiences I've had, one that I should have attended. And the same with natural disasters. Like I didn't know what a derecho was until I had to respond to one. And so as you scroll through, I would encourage people to think about something that they don't think they'll ever need, but just might expand their horizons in a really meaningful way.
So I have the approach with the conference that I actually don't do a ton of prep in terms of what I know I absolutely want to see, unless I have to. So I am benefited for the last couple of years, have been able to serve on the conference committee, and it is so cool to see this huge event come together. And so I have a few sessions that I actually have to introduce, and I have to make sure that all the pieces and parts are there. And if there's an issue, make sure I go find the AV guy, things like that. So those ones I'm very prepared for. Those are in my schedule. I'm ready for those. But I really love to audit sessions. I will frequently spend, unless I'm really into a session, less than 15 minutes in that session. And I will try to glean a couple of really good things, and then I'm off to my next one, and I'm off to my next one, and I'm off to my next one. I really just enjoy seeing the different presentations. And that doesn't mean I don't stop and listen and participate in some of them for the entirety of it. But I have just found it so interesting to learn that way. It is not how I typically do professional learning. Usually it's very prescribed, and I have this 2-hour session or this 1-hour session, and I will sit through that and I will take my copious notes. I don't take notes. I sit and I listen, and if it strikes me as something that I really find valuable, I'll stay. If not, I'll go and I'll find the next thing. I the point though that I think is really important that you both said is that this is the gamut of issues in our profession are covered. There are 130 plus sessions. They start Saturday morning, so if you're getting there early, there are pre-conference sessions you can participate in. They run all the way to past lunch on Wednesday, and it gets a little depressing at the end of the conference because there's a lot of people that will peel off by Tuesday. But if you stay through the end, you are still in some really impressive, awesome opportunities to learn.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask, and one of the tasks that Mike gave me through his AI assignments of topics was questions, which I will share at a different point in our podcast today. But Phil, you talked about auditing and kind of bebopping between, because there are so many, like just when I was looking, Mike, your session on Sunday, there are like some really, really great sessions that you're competing with. Has that changed over your 20 years, right? So if you're a first time attendee versus maybe a first time manager now, like first time in the chair, how does your conference kind of navigation and logistics change depending on where you're at in the career spectrum?
Well, that's it. I wasn't expecting a hard question right away, so that's
It's a
great.
good question.
It is a good
Yeah.
question. I mean, I think what I remember back to the first time I went to a conference, I tended to gravitate to uh, people in my state, actually people sort of just in like proximity to me. So I was like, if my neighboring community was going somewhere, I was like, oh, I'm going to go with them just to try to fit in. And then then after a couple conferences, then you start to notice people that you really like and respect. So Clay Pearson out of Texas and Darren Atterbury when he was in Colorado was like, and there are folks who just, Peggy Maris, if she was talking, I knew I had learned like, okay, I'm going to go watch that because I know that that's great. So um, I think that it's evolved a little bit to, right, what was safe, and then what I actually knew and sort of thought I identified as role models. And now I'm kind of on the complete end of the spectrum, where it's like, I kind of want the most eccentric sort of out there thing, because often those are the people who are doing something that's really cool that I probably haven't seen before. So there is an evolution. And so one of the things I would encourage people to do is to, find your cohort of locals and then branch out. I think that's really good advice. Cause then it's at the end of the day, like it is daunting. Sometimes you might be with, 4,900 strangers. The good value of being in this for a really long time is there's going to be 5,000 people there. I'm going to know 1,500 of them personally because I have a lot of, I tend to be outwardly social. So I'm going to have a great time at the conference. So if you want to meet people, just hook up. We'll all help you out.
That's actually true. I will answer your Corey's question in a second, but I feel like I met more people last year because I happened to be around Mike than I did in the 15 conferences I attended prior to that. Um, there really is something. Look, I am a person that sometimes around that size of a crowd, I do what Mike did when he first started. I find the people I know and I somewhat stick with them. Um, what I think I have noticed in myself, my evolution has been kind of similar to Mike's, where I now am much more comfortable being in a space where I don't know a lot of people, and that I have the chance to strike up a conversation with someone from California or someone from Pennsylvania, someone from Florida, because we just happen to be sitting next to each other. And those opportunities, they just don't happen organically. I mean, they happen a little bit through social media, but you're not just going to randomly run into a city manager from Northern California walking down the street or going to your state or affiliate conference. So it is just an opportunity to be among your colleagues, and really, I would say it's 5,000 friends. Everybody's there really for the same purpose. We're all there to have the opportunity to learn some things, see some folks, bring some really solid learning and lessons back to our back home, and to have a little bit of fun in the process of doing so. So it is. I I will say my session choices are much less in my typical wheelhouse in the last 5 years than they ever have been, even if my community may never deal with an issue like hurricane preparedness, because we're just not going to have a hurricane, hopefully, in Northern Illinois. One never knows. But we do have, to Corey's point, derechos. We have situations that are relatable, and to listen to the experiences. I think that's the best part about how the ICMA conference is structured. it isn't a bunch of talking heads. It's a bunch of your colleagues who are telling you about their experiences.
Okay, so before you jump in, Corey, I have to say, so if you're not busy on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 a.m., you can come talk about boosting financial literacy and entrepreneurship in local communities. I'm going to be on a panel with folks from Gaithersburg, Maryland, and Kalamazoo, Michigan. And it really does highlight sort of the diverse perspectives. I listened to Gaithersburg talk today, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I actually went to their website, highlighted a couple of things, and sent it to my economic development team because we just got a little bit smarter on stuff that they're doing. So it doesn't have to be terribly complicated. It's just opportunity. So I'll see you guys on Sunday morning.
I would say to that very point, because Corey made it a moment ago, I too am presenting at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, and I am doing so with two colleagues from Connecticut and New Mexico, and we are talking about social media strategy and how to use it effectively in your organization, in your community. This is a great reason to bop around a little bit, right? Maybe listen to Mike, probably the other speakers, and then you can leave that session and come listen to me, and it's going to be great. It's a real opportunity. Mike, I do love you very much, very much.
Well, you'll pop into my session. You'll be bored of your own and come in anytime. You're more
I
than welcome.
will. I'm walking down the hall.
No, so Phil, for your session, if I were to rove into yours, the question I would have after our recent conversation with Steve and John is, how do you guys balance what is a very public role as a manager or a leader of an organization with the elected body and maybe its perception that it doesn't want you to outshine them? So if I were to walk into Phil's session, that's the question I would have for them.
It's a great question. You should ask it on in a couple of weeks on Sunday morning at 11:30. Maybe you'll probably have to wait till about 12:15 to ask the question, but that's an excellent question. I can't give away all of the secrets that I plan to share at that point in time.
Can I jump in with with something for first time attendees to not ever do? And actually, I take that back, for all attendees to not do. They often open up the microphone in the last 15 minutes, and this is going to sound awful, and I don't mean it that way because I am one of these guys. But often an old white guy will come up to the podium and say, I don't have a question so much as a comment, and then they'll talk about the only thing that they want to talk about. Don't ever do that. It is awful. Everyone in the audience is making fun of you for saying it, and all of the panelists are making fun of you for saying it too. If you want to be a presenter, submit a presentation. Don't stand up at the podium and talk about how freaking smart you are. No one cares. And it is always old white guys. So don't do that. Please actually come forward with a question like Corey asked, because I thought that was a brilliant question. So if you've watched nothing else in this podcast, please remember that. Don't go to the podium with your own thoughts. Come to the podium with curiosity.
And I think the other thing to do is don't let those question and answer sessions go silent. There is always a question. Don't feel badly about stepping up to that microphone and saying, hey, you said this thing, and I'm just wondering, how do you do that, right? And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, not everybody feels comfortable standing up in front of a big room of people and asking a question, then walk up to the session presenters afterwards and say, you know what? I really loved the session. I have a couple of follow-ups. If you don't have time now, that's fine. But let's trade cards. I'd love to connect. I can't tell you how many really wonderful conversations I have had with either somebody who presented about something that I had no idea about, or that people that came up to me afterwards and said, hey, I never understood that that's how that thing worked. Can we talk more about it? Again, the conference is not about sitting on your hands and not having conversations with people. It's about building a network and building knowledge and just dialoguing. And it's so much more fun when you let yourself do that.
I think that makes such a great point. So we, organizationally, we talk about the meeting after the meeting. This is the one environment where the meeting after the meeting is magical, and have as many of those as you possibly can, because Phil, same thing. the conversations after I've presented or in sessions I've attended are really, really fascinating. And what I would add on to that is if you're attending a session, and this is probably more for first timers or people earlier in their career or new to the profession, you're going to go to some sessions where you're going to feel like you are completely out of your league. Because these are, Mike, you used the word legend, right? I remember last year attending the big managers. So you had Philly and Cincy and Kansas City, like these legends. They run these massive organizations, and they're all just professionals just like us, and they are kind and generous with their time, and they're so smart. And if they don't have the answer, they will absolutely connect you to someone in their organization. And so I would say don't let kind of fear of stature or magnitude be the barrier from introducing you to someone who you would like to maybe say, that's somebody I'd like to be mentored by, or that's somebody I'd like to learn from. Because I think what you will find universally is everyone is so gracious with their time and their willingness to connect. And maybe early in your career or first time, that conference can be so overwhelming. You don't really realize how welcoming and open everyone is to just meeting. Not everybody's a Mike Sable. Not everybody's got 5,000 friends they are looking forward to make. But I think you'll find some really magical relationships in that conference.
I think that's an excellent point. I think it's we convince ourselves all the time that we don't have anything in common with these amazing people standing up on stage because clearly they must be better at it than we are because they're standing up on stage. No, they raised their hands and submitted a conference proposal, as Mike said, and that's how they got there, right? They're like you and I. They are in-service practitioners who have a story to tell, and it's a good one. And there's a committee of people like me who read these session descriptions and they say, my God, people are going to learn something from this. This is great. Let's make sure we get this in front of our colleagues and friends. I want to kind of take a step back because I think we kind of breezed past the fact that there's a lot of first-time attendees who are going to show up in Tampa in a few weeks, and they are going to not know what to do, right? So they're going to walk in, they're going to land at the airport, they're going to get in an Uber, and it's going to take them probably to their hotel, and they're going to try to drop their stuff off, and then they're going to say, and now what do I do? And what they're going to do is if they're staying in a hotel that is in the ICMA conference group, they're going to find a table with a person who's an ambassador, and that person is going to say, how can I help you? Do you know where you're going? Can I show you the way to the conference center? And that's your first stop. If you don't know anything else, that's your first stop. And those people are there on purpose. They want to answer your questions. They want to help you. They're going to send you to the conference center. You're going to go. You're going to print out your own badge. It's very fancy. You can pull, ribbons off of the wall. And, I felt like I might have thrown 5 or 6 ribbons on last year. I'm not sure all of them were legit, but I was pretty close. And if you haven't done it yet, I need you to hold on. I got to find it on my phone here. If you haven't done it yet, you need to download the ICMA conference app. Oh, sorry. The ICMA conference app, and it has everything that you need. Now, if you don't like this, and Mike's going to tell you a little later why you shouldn't be on this very much, they still print out the hard copy books. You can grab one of those. You can dog ear it. You can write in it. You can find your first sessions. But those are the first things you want to do. You want to make sure that you get your badge, you figure out where things are, and then you lean into it and you start doing the stuff. You start going to the sessions, start talking to people. The expo hall is going to be open. It's going to be a lot. You're going to be overwhelmed by it. Or maybe not. Maybe you love big crowds, but there's a lot. And hopefully you're going to see one of the 3 of us in those first hours that you're there, and you're going to wave, and we're going to wave back, and maybe we'll walk over and Michael take a selfie with you and post it. So, oh wait, no, never mind. He's not going to do that. I might though.
No, I think that's exactly right. I would say if if there's anybody that watches or listens to this podcast and you see me and you don't say hi, I'm going to be crushed, because this is why we go. We do this thing because we love this profession. This is where all of us, right? We've all been called local government nerds. This is where we all go because it's family. This is home. And this is where the shortcut, and like, I know what you do and you know what I do, and we're all in this together, and it feels like High School Musical, and we should all sing and dance and do a bit. Like, that's exactly what this is about. So if you do see one of us, please stop and say hi. Odds are good that we're going to be hanging out in some hallway together talking. Like, I fully expect to be interrupted every time. But first time attendees, it's daunting. So when they give you the first time attendee badge thing, put it on. I make a point consciously to go say thank you for coming, because it is a lot. You're pulled away from work, you're pulled away from family. Like, it's a stressful thing. You're in a strange place, probably alone. I will do my best to make you feel welcomed. I know that the profession and the host committees will make you feel welcomed. And we're just glad you're there, because it is such a cool experience. And there are some things that will be probably overwhelming and also amazing at the same time. And so it feels right. I download the app, and there's a really cool feature on there. If you meet somebody that's really cool, like, connect with them on LinkedIn, or actually schedule to go have lunch together. Like,
Mhm.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to be here. You're going to be here. This is cool. Hey, do you want to meet at 12:30 the vendor room and go grab some lunch together? Like, you can actually schedule meetings with people that you meet through the app. Believe it or not, I did that today.
Mike,
True
I'm
story.
so proud of
You
you.
get this little green handshaking
Yeah.
guy, this little
Yep.
icon about meetings.
Mhm.
And so I want to talk about meeting people. Corri, I subjected you to this last year about meeting people. Why don't you talk about what it's like to meet people? And if you are potentially introverted, what are some strategies you might employ?
So I actually want to go back before last year, and it's going to be overwhelming. It's massive. There are going to be people, and I would offer, don't underestimate the power of a smile. Like, if you're having that internal trepidation of, "Oh, I don't even know where to start with a smile." One of my best friends in life, I met at an ICMA conference in a hallway before a group of us were headed to lunch. And in that moment, did I know this person was going to have such a profound impact on my life? Nope. I saw somebody who was like, not quite sure what to do. I could tell she wasn't there with anybody. We were going as a group, and I'm like, hey, we're going to lunch. You want to go? And 2 years later, we were talking about fashion today, and we were talking about all sorts of other things. And so lead with a smile. If nothing else, that matters. But yeah, we joke, and I've done this through most of my career. Somehow in my career, I went from being high I when I was in economic development in my disc to no longer being high I. Now I'm like high D. So I've learned, you find the person with woo who's an extrovert, and you're like, I'll be your wingman. Like, let's go do this thing. But the cold handshake, the cold introduction is just not my sweet spot. Like, I will find ways to connect with anyone I meet. But find your wingman, and you will find them in this conference. You might not know them, maybe you do. But I would say that's the magic of just leading with curiosity and knowing that no matter what you do, there's going to be someone with a smile and a helpful answer, suggestion, welcome, any of it on the other side.
My biggest regrets at ICMA conferences have been the opportunities not taken to go to lunch, grab coffee, sit down for a minute, right? Like, there's so many places to sit down, and you're like, no, I gotta go to that session. I gotta go. I'll catch you later, and you never see the person again because there's 5,000 people. So it is as likely as not that you may not have the chance to just kind of run into one another. Take the opportunity to connect with somebody. Even if it's a quick conversation in the elevator, even if it's a chance to just kind of introduce yourself, say where you're from, find out where they're from, and walk with them to a session. And as you break off, you've still made that connection. It's those are the things that when I look back early in my career, I was very unwilling to be vulnerable. And again, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're never going to see the person again, right? So if you screw up your name as you're trying to introduce yourself, okay, yeah, that you can replay that moment in your brain, and the person probably isn't going to remember. But if you take the chance, like Corri did, to say, "Hey, nice to meet you," suddenly you have a new friend, and maybe that makes your life at work a little bit easier because they have an experience that they can share with you. And if not, it's going to make your life all that much better.
Totally agree. So a few shortcuts is to people who are going to the ICMA conference tend to have a state association that will produce for you a list of who's attending from your state. Like, grab that before you go. Like, download it. Like, see, like, okay, I know these 7 people. That's cool. Now I know somebody. The other piece of advice that I would say, and Corri, you and I talked about this earlier, is on Sunday morning early, and like by early I mean 9 o'clock, which at conference time that's early for a lot of people. Um, they have these like regional conferences, like these little regional meetings of the Midwest and the Region C and all of these other names. And so that's often a great place to start the conference early. It's before the first keynote. It's an opportunity to see people from within your region and you get a sense for who I might recognize or who's around there. And Corri, you had a really interesting take. I want to see what you're going to add on to this.
So you and I, as Midwest VPs, had to go. We had to be present and to present there. So this is the first year neither of us have that responsibility, which is fun. But I think regardless of where you're at in your career, those are such, I would say, low barrier meetings to go meet kind of the power structure of your region. But dare I say there's a different opportunity. So let's say I'm in the Midwest, but maybe eventually I want to move to the Southeast. Go to the Southeast conference and
Mhm.
go meet, because you'll have the state presidents in there. You'll have a lot of the kind of secretariats usually attend. And so you'll have the people with the power and the networks in the room. Again, it's early on Sunday, the opening party Saturday night. Those two things have a little bit of tension between them. And so the diehards are the ones that are there Sunday morning, and they're going to be welcome. And so it's this really interesting opportunity in a low barrier way to connect with people that maybe you haven't met yet.
So Mike's point about the people in your state, um, who you can find their names through your state association, you also can find their names in the app. Um, I remember feeling very trepidatious about, and this is funny. I don't think Mike knows the story, but a year ago in Pittsburgh, I got there. I was going to an early session on Saturday. And so I got there later on Friday, and I was scrolling through the conference app and looking at the attendee list. And of course, Mike is a Midwest VP. So I had met him, I don't know, a couple times at that point. And I remember I was like, oh, well, Mike's here. Maybe I'll send him a note and say, hey, maybe we can catch up at some point at the conference. And it surprised me, given how, I mean, it didn't surprise me then, but it surprises me now knowing how little Mike knows how to use technology. He responded like that, and it was like, yeah, I'd love to. We'll get together. I'm busy tonight. I've got 5 or 6 different things that I'm doing. But yeah, let's connect on Saturday or Sunday, and I'll see you around. And it was it's a little bit of a going out on a limb, but not really. But those kinds of moments are the things that lead you then to conference experiences that are going to be the ones that you take back with you, the friendships that you make. And look, here we are right now, Mike. I'm not afraid to send you a text message and tell you I don't think your run of show is very good, but back then I was pretty afraid.
Well, the veneer has been lifted entirely. So I do want to like also for new attendees. So like one of the things that they do is the vendor hall, which is also filled with probably 1,000 of our closest friends, is also incredibly daunting. There's probably 200 booths of people who are lining the room, and they're interested in supporting local government leaders. And so uh, it is not at all sort of a sales pitch. It is just they're just genuinely curious about who's there. They work in this space, they know this space, they're sort of eager to talk to people. So don't dismiss and walk by and just sort of, close your eyes and just keep walking. Because the conference strategically places the food and the bar in the back of the room. So you are compelled then to walk through. And I will tell you, I have made incredible friendships and relationships with vendors, people I don't even have contracts or agreement, sort of professional dealings with, but I just sort of like them because I've been at this a long time, and you get to meet them over time. So make a point to say hi to the vendors that are there. They are there for a purpose. They're there to actually help us. They're good at it. Most of them go to most of the conferences. Like, so shout out to Kevin Lyons at Flash Vote, because every time he goes to a new city, he finds the best barbecue place. And so if you ever want to talk about barbecue with Kevin Lyons, you can do that because he has literally been everywhere. And so I've never used Flashvote. I've never paid for their service, but I love him, and I think he's an accomplished professional. And so um, don't be afraid to cultivate relationships with that group as well, because they're super valuable. They provide a valuable service to members. And so, and I could go through the laundry list of people that I know and love in the consultant world, because they are terrific. So yeah, I mean, don't shy away from that group because they're great.
So I think there's a couple interesting things that happens in the vendor hall besides. So Sunday, that opening reception is when everyone goes in there, and it's like super surreal and so much fun. But there are lots of workshops that the exhibitors put on, and so those little learning labs you have in there. My favorite one is Puppy Park, when the puppies are there. So make sure you like sketch that out in your schedule, because there is something magical, if you're an animal person, about having some time with the puppies. It's very good. But I would agree, like the vendors are part of what makes this whole conference work at the scale that it is. And so being willing to have a conversation with any of them. And I think we're entering an era where there are going to be some new ones, and they're going to be different, and a lot about government, and especially GovTech is changing. And so I think it's going to evolve into more interesting stuff.
Well, and I think you have the chance. It's one of those. The vendor experience, the vendor expo hall is as Mike said, it's huge. It's the biggest room in the conference, and it's always buzzing. There's always people in there, and it's. I always feel bad. I would be terrible at sales. Like, it's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't enjoy it, but I think the importance of of being there is also to acknowledge that they are there, right? As you walk through, again, share a smile. They're not going to force you to stop and talk to them. They may say, "Hey, we've got some candy sitting over here if you want a Snickers bar," because they could tell that you're hungry. But otherwise, they're there to talk a little bit about what they've got going on, about what it is that their company can provide to you. I had a really excellent conversation last year with a representative from General Motors talking about their EV police pursuit vehicles. We were talking about it. I had, kind of nipped around the edges with my department about whether we wanted to try that. And so, well, here they are. Here's the Blazer EV sitting in the expo hall. I can sit in it. I can look in the back. I can get a sense of how it is, how it's laid out, and I can have a conversation with the guy who is an engineer who is on the team that designed it, and he can say, "Yeah, these are the limitations. Yeah, these are the positives." Um, and now we have three of them that our community service officers use, and the chance to just kind of understand it is not something I get probably 15 cold call emails a week. I delete all of them. I will just say it out loud. I don't even read them. they go straight to trash. But I always try to have a conversation with a face-to-face conversation with the vendors in that expo center, just because you want to be able to understand what, and you know what, if you don't have a use for their product, you could just tell them that, and they're going to be like, that's fine, thank you so much, it's nice to meet you. Again, it's about building those connections, because you never know, maybe you don't have a need now, but maybe you will, in the next job that you have, or a year from now in your same.
So, Mike, when you drafted up Run a Show, one of the interesting things you and the robots came up with was this idea of 10, 10, 10. So I feel like we should dig in, because at this point, if you stuck with us for, we're more than a half hour in, and if you're a first timer or new to ICMA, you're like, what am I getting myself into? So we thought we would give you, we'll get maybe some logistical tips too, but maybe some goals that if you're coming in with this set of goals, maybe it makes the rest of it feel a little less scary. So which one of the 10 do you want to start with?
Well, since we've talked a lot about people, and in fairness, I would say you should meet 10 people every half day. Maybe go with 10 people.
Every hour, but you know,
Like legitimately, every hour sounds like an attainable goal for me.
I know.
Find yourself a Mike Sable.
I
That's
think
like
10
priority one.
I think 10 a day is a really
Okay,
solid goal.
so what
Yeah.
is 10 people? How about we just start with 10 people?
Okay, that's good. Yep.
So the challenge is to meet 10 new people. Now, if you're a planner, you've already kind of scoped out who those 10 people might be in the app. And so you might
Right.
have kind of a wish list that you're going to go to. But one of the interesting, they're all my favorite, but 10% less time on your phone. Let's dig into why that matters.
Because your phone battery is going to get completely drained if you don't. Okay, that's not the only reason. I am guilty of this. I am a chronic phone checker. And I totally agree with this one. This is the opportunity to be present. This is the opportunity. Like I said early on, I don't take notes during sessions unless it's like something I absolutely want to go back to and make sure that I don't forget. But usually I don't take notes because I want to listen and I want to kind of engage with the people that are sitting there. You got to do that. It's too easy to find yourself doing this the whole time you're sitting in a session and looking up every so often, because you're following along on the slide deck, or you are whatever, right? Like, find a way to shut off some of your social media, sign out of your work email. There's somebody back at the office who's taking care of it, right? Sign out. Don't check it 78 times an hour like some people do. What are you going to do if you get it, right? You're not going to be there. You're not going and the whole point of being there is to be there, is to be present.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to watch is that during sessions, when somebody will invariably take up their phone and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to take a picture of this thing," right? I promise you, the slides are in the app. You don't have to take a picture of it.
Mike's going to get up and slap the phone out of your hand
Well,
if he sees it happen.
if you do it in one of my sessions, I 100% will,
Yeah.
because this is not engagement. This is like laziness. Because I'll say this, and I say this all the time. So there's a couple of things. Number one, you can't listen and read at the same time. Like, you just physiologically can't do both things. So if you're trying to read a slide and take a picture and also listen, you've lost all of the learning. The other one is like, you just sort of miss the opportunity. A lot of what is said is not spoken. So it's in body language, and it's in tone, it's in sort of the feeling that you get out of the experience. So if you're constantly jotting notes, or like, I'm going to write down every word that this person says, you've lost the meaning. So literally just stop, absorb the meaning, and then for 3 minutes afterwards say, "God, here's what I've learned," or "Here's what I took away," or "This thing really stood out for me." You miss sort of, if you're trying to document everything, you document and learn nothing.
And I think we've leaned into the convenience of notes apps on your phone or emailing yourself or however you tactically do it. And while it's convenient, you're right. Your brain doesn't switch those gears that way. And so I know we've talked about before, like I handwrite things. So if you're going to do that, if you have to be like, oh, there's one thing I want to go research, do that, but do it after. And so be completely present. The magic does happen for your brain and your body. Like the science behind it is wild. Just stop and listen. And you will actually gain far more from it than being distracted. And I would say, as grown-ups, it's a good time for us to practice what we preach about technology and screens and managing our own ADHD with being able to just appreciate the moment of what people are doing and knowing that, one, it's either in the app, which it probably is, or even better, if you love the session, you can email one of the speakers, and I guarantee you they will email you the presentation, and then you've created a network contact too.
Okay, so the last of the tens. This one I think Corri has some really thoughtful ideas about, but I love this one. Ask 10 big questions. Doesn't have to be 10 big questions every session. We already talked about that. That's not helpful. 10 big questions doesn't have to be in a session, can be, could be one-on-one, could be in a small group, could be to a vendor, could be to some speakers afterwards. 10 big questions about something that's heavy, meaningful, and practical in terms of what you've heard or what you'd like to hear. Corri, you got questions that
I
you
have a
want to
whole
throw out there? You have some
I,
ideas?
I have a whole bank of questions. How did you know?
I
Good news, Claude helped with this too. And I was thinking about this. I think I'll probably put these out on our social media on the LinkedIn page ahead of the conference. And so people, if they want to just download a quick snapshot image to have it with them, so be it. But there are a couple I'll just touch on. And I think this is a fun one. And so I take a more provocative approach. This would be more of a Mike Sable approach to how I develop these questions. But what's
What?
the best?
What?
I say that with love and adoration. I really do. And you will see it when I start reading them. Okay? Little
Here we
trust.
go.
Little trust
Here we
goes
go.
a long way. What's the best mistake you've made in the last year?
Question.
It's a great question, right? And
It's a really good question.
the whole goal behind this bank that I built was not that, oh, hi, what's your name? Where are you from? Right? Like those are obligatory, but I'm going to presume everyone can read everybody's badge and they probably have a QR code. Like it's pretty slick, right? And so it's this idea that time is precious and you want to create these moments of connection where you find what sparks and what doesn't. So if you could uninvent one thing in local government, what would it be? Now, you probably shouldn't say your elected officials. That's not nice. This is a good one amongst city managers. What's a rule in your organization that everyone knows is ridiculous, but nobody questions? Like these are the magic moments in the hallway where you can probably do some really fun things. You have a
Can I answer
suggestion?
that? No, I want to answer that question. We
Please
used to have a part-time handyman that you would rent out to the community to go, hang pictures on a wall, all sorts of stuff like that.
Amazing.
And it was, yeah. And there was so much risk management involved in that position for what we were getting for it. When he retired, it was like, and we're never refilling that one. That one's done. We're done with that one. Yes. So
lovely lead into my next question.
These are the things you find out when you ask a thoughtful question. Who would have thought?
What would you fix if consequences didn't matter? I feel like that's one for you, Mike.
I have bigger problems than the handyman. Yes, much bigger.
I like this one. What's working better by accident than by design right now? Like sometimes things just magically work, right?
Yeah.
What was the last thing that made you say, why didn't I think of that? And so hopefully you have many of those at ICMA. This is a fun one. It probably takes a little bit of a trust fall to get to this one. But I dare somebody to come up to Mike Sable and ask. This is like a double dog dare. What are you pretending to understand that you actually don't?
What are you pretending? I'm writing it down because
Okay,
I'm going to
so
ask Mike.
in fairness, the answer is yes. It's literally everything. The answer is yes.
What should we all be worried about that nobody's talking about?
That is a great question.
Phil, that reminds me of talking with you. Well, I think I've talked to both of you about what AI really is versus what we like generally know about right now, like
Uh-huh.
where it's actually headed, what the technology actually does. And then this has got Mike Sable written all over it. What will we be doing differently 5 years from now that seems absolutely crazy today? So, and then there's a bunch more, but I'm not going to go through them all. I will put them out on our social media ahead of the conference so that people can just steal them and
No,
no pride of ownership.
I appreciate all of that. So let's just to highlight. You go to the conference, meet 10 new people on your phone
That's
for
number
10
one.
be on your phone 10% less and ask 10 provocative questions at a session, at
Those
lunch,
3
in
tenths.
the hallway. Those are great. I'm glad that our AI overlords have come up with those 3 because I think they're good. They're wonderful things. So there's a couple of things that you said. One of them was your name badge, and I'm going to give first-time attendees a little tip. So the name badge comes with a lanyard, and the lanyard is like this long.
Yeah, this is a good tip.
And the
Mhm.
lanyard will invariably fall somewhere near your waistline. And it is incredibly awkward to go up to a stranger and immediately stare at their belt. Don't do that. If you're savvy, you'll tie a little knot on your lanyard that will
Mhm.
raise it so it'll be just at above your chest, just below your neckline. So that when you meet people, they're not immediately staring down. Don't do that. That's awkward and weird. Make sure that it's the appropriate height. You don't have to have it at the same height. You can actually change it. So tie it in a little knot until it's appropriately height. So because it is weird and you will see
Don't make it like a necktie or like a handkerchief or something
it's
like
all
that,
good. It's just
or a napkin, but yes.
anywhere than below your belt line is an appropriate length, right? Like just move it up a little bit so people aren't staring at it. I promise you, everybody who is a veteran conference attendee will do this. Just do it. First day, just figure out the appropriate height. No one's going to think it's weird. In fact, people will appreciate it. So adjust your badge height, please. Please. I'm not kidding. Like make it a priority. Do it on Sunday when you pick up your badge.
I learned that from you last year, Mike. I I will be again another ICMA conference experience made better by Mike Sable. I tied my badge lanyard last year after a conversation with you. So,
It took 20 years to get there, huh?
well, I
25.
never thought about it. I never, what
Mm.
do I know?
So, speaking of that, you talked about I'll call it flair. One of the fun parts of ICMA is badge flair.
Yeah.
And I will say I have envy with Victor, who joined us a few episodes ago. He like has a whole collection he brings with to conferences that he's collected over the years. But I believe some of us will have alma maters there. So if one of the institutions you may have attended has a table, which many of the great MPA programs do, I guarantee you they will have flair. So go show your school pride. But you will be able to kind of get really cool things. And so don't feel weird about jazzing up your badge because it also creates a connection point with somebody else. Now, when Phil gets his NIU thing, I might make fun of him because I will have my Sun Devil thing. And that will create this banter between us because we know what that means. And you will find these little tiny connection points amongst people. So get the ribbons, get the flair. It will make saying hi and meeting those 10 people actually a lot easier.
I will say it's not those of us who have frequented Disney World. I am one of those people. There's a thing called pin trading where you find people who have pins that are cool and you trade your pin for their pin. Like, if you're going to do that, just make sure that you're not trading away your alma mater's pin, something like that. Last year, I had a Village of Glencoe pin on my badge, and I gave it to former ICMA President Jeff Towery. We were having a conversation, and he's like, "That pin is awesome," and I was like, "Would you like it?" And he's like, yeah, I'd love it." So I gave it to him. I realized I had no more of them, but I'm glad to have been able to do that. Jeff, when he was president of ICMA, came to an ILCMA, an Illinois City County Management Association event, and he shared with me something that is incredibly meaningful to me, which is a challenge coin from McMinnville, his community. And so I felt like it was an opportunity for me to share something back with him. These are the weird kind of little connections that take place at ICMA that are really thoughtful and meaningful, and just and you sometimes it's just good to not plan for them too much, but to know that something spontaneous like that may happen. So if you have something that you want to decorate your badge with, maybe bring a few extras and say, "Hey, would you like this pin or this sticker or something like that that you may have?"
So, Phil, you and I are both Disney people. I feel like this is a challenge. Now, don't trade your Disney pin away, but which one of us has the cooler Disney pin that we would bring? Because I have a pretty fun collection.
I don't have as many as you think I should, because given the number of times I've been to
So, is yours a headband
House of Mouse,
collection?
I do have a
Is
lot
that?
of headband. I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I
I feel like
have
that's Tampa appropriate.
I may wear it because I have the old like beanie style Mickey ears that have my name embroidered on the back that I got when I went to Disney World when I was in high school. And it's well known in my family and with friends of ours who we sometimes travel with that I will put it on when the cab comes to pick us up at our house, and it does not come off until the cab drops us back off at our house after the vacation is over. So I might have to bring it with me.
I just got a little overwhelmed with all of that. So, um,
Day trip to Disney. We're gonna steal Mike, and we're gonna
we're gonna steal a
head over to
car.
Orlando.
We're gonna steal a car. So I close target to the people who watch this. So find Victor Cardenas and try to count the number of pins that are on his lanyard and on his name tag. Closest to guesses gets to win a prize of my choosing at some point later on. I just make up the rules as I go. So here's the other thing I was going to ask. This is a closed circuit to first time attendees. When you leave the conference center, take your badge off. Number one, all of the people who are there are going to know that you're there from the conference. Like, you look like one of us, and like we'll be able to spot you a mile away. Also, fit into the city of Tampa and go explore the city of Tampa. You're going to have to eat dinner at some point. You're going to have like some sort of a rest. So go explore the city, but don't do it with your big conference badge.
Some sort of a rest or some sort of a rest.
Well,
because I don't think anyone should get arrested. That
no,
is
no
not
one
what
should
they
get arrested. But
yeah.
And I actually only have, and people who know me know I only have two speeds. I have on and I have off. So when I am awake, I am on, and when I am asleep, I am off. And those are my two speeds. But you are going to have to, some people are going to have to moderate their energy levels. And so getting out into the neighborhoods, going out and seeing things, getting out into Tampa, spending some time, spending some money, spending some opportunity to be in the sun. Because if you're from the north, it's probably still going to be 80 degrees. We had a frost warning this morning, so the contrast is pretty stark. But get out into the city and take advantage of it, but don't brand the conference while you're out. Just take it off. You can put it back on when you get inside. It just makes you look like you don't belong. And so just try to fit into the city and embrace it. And that's the other thing I would say is get out and explore something cool. So on the plane out to the conference, find a couple of things that you want to go see and do. Use your time in the air to sort of build a plan for yourself, both at the conference, but then outside into the buildings itself.
So I'm being on a conference committee, had the chance to be in Tampa back in January. Just to underscore Mike's point, Tampa, I had never been myself. Been to Florida many, many times, but I'd never been to Tampa before. They have a river walk. I had no idea there was a river in Tampa, but it's beautiful. The city itself is very walkable. It's very clean. You just feel like it's a place that you want to spend time outside. The weather is going to be good. The conference center will probably be cold. That's just how they are. So you dress in layers and you go outside. But spend some time in this space because the host committee is really proud of the fact that all of these people from around the world are coming to their city, coming to their county, are enjoying the amenities and the things that there are to just kind of find yourself in the midst of. Some of my favorite memories, thinking back to places like Seattle and San Antonio and Milwaukee and Minneapolis, just these wonderful communities that I had not really experienced before an ICMA conference. The best part about going is being able to just kind of find something you'd never seen before and learning a bit about it or just enjoying it for a few minutes. Enjoy the space. It's a real opportunity to do so in a way maybe that you might otherwise not do.
So, Phil, you talked about when you were visiting, and I remember having a conversation. Don't underestimate TripAdvisor or Google Maps or whatever your kind of preference for travel is, because I think you were searching for a place to have dinner, and I'm like sitting here in the dual screens. And I'm like, well, here's where I would go. And I'm pretty sure that's where you ended up. And in exchange, I got a really great picture of food that looked amazing. And I was in the middle of Midwestern winter. So you said the word arrest, and I don't want to take away the lightness, but we live in a world where someone is always watching, and there are pictures and video. And as with any good conversation and conference, there are often libations. And just a reminder that we are professionals, we have a code of ethics. Act accordingly and act as though somebody's probably got photos. And so just a reminder that the code of ethics is important to the organization, to the profession. And if you shouldn't do it, don't do it. Like that. I feel like that's my mom's statement on it, because people can find themselves in little predicaments sometimes. And I'd prefer people not do that.
Here, here.
Uh-huh. Excellent point. Worth making.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to pivot and I'm going to transition really quickly because one of the things that's pretty cool is the ICMA conference, because there's so many people. We tend to draw a lot of keynote speakers that are of like people who you would never ever get to see at a conference. Like I remember I got to see Jim Collins. Like Jim Collins is probably the
Yeah.
second greatest thinker and practitioner of management thinking in the world. Peter Drucker being one, Jim Collins being number two. And I got to see Jim Collins speak. Like that should never happen. And I got it because I went to ICMA. There are some incredible keynote speakers coming to ICMA. And the first one is Arthur Brooks, and he's going to be the opening day keynote speaker. I am super thrilled to hear him. I read a lot of his stuff. What advice do you give to people who are coming to their to watch a keynote speaker, or maybe Arthur Brooks specifically?
So for me, this isn't church. Sit up front.
Mhm.
Yeah, the screens are
Yes.
big, but I think I learned that so the board has that front block center, those first 3 rows. And I am often not a front row dweller at conferences. And with being on the board, we had to. And that was the greatest gift, was to just sit up there and soak it in. We had such amazing speakers last year who I now follow on LinkedIn and follow them on social media and
Yeah.
read their work. And they just blew my mind. And so Arthur Brooks' legacy, really provocative but meaningful work that is so relevant to the time we're living in right now. And so don't treat it like you're going to sit in the back of the room to escape. Like, this is one of those moments to sit towards the front. Yes, there are big screens, but like, soak it up. Those are such rare moments to see speakers of that caliber up close.
I could not agree more. You took the words out of my mouth. Do not sit in the back. You are going to feel like you're walking forever. These are very big rooms. And there's going to be a whole like set of tables in the middle. And, that's fine. But go to the front block, sit as far forward as you can, engage. You will make eye contact with these speakers, and it will change the experience that you have. The other thing, a lot of people skip the keynotes because there's a lot of business that also happens in advance of the keynotes, right? So we're acknowledging long time careers, right? People who are celebrating. I was looking it up. We have people celebrating 55 years in this profession. Do not skip that stuff. Do not show up for the guy who's been doing this for longer than we've all been alive and is still doing it. That's the person that you need to go and you need to clap and you need to support. And then it's everybody all the way through 5 years at a time. Those folks deserve your attention. I was talking about this with Julia Novak on the ICMA's podcast not long ago. My favorite thing is to watch those longtime service awards and to just kind of hear a little bit about how they got started and where, why they're still doing it. Because I'll tell you, I don't know that I want to do this for 55 years. But I am impressed by that. So I would say there is business that takes place, ICMA business that takes place in advance. You're going to see Mike up on stage. He's going to speak about something, I'm sure, very important and do so incredibly eloquently. I'm sure his teleprompter is not going to have any problems with it at all, because I haven't put in a request to have it suddenly go black. But I know that did happen to Corri.
That happened to me last year.
I remember it well.
And it's dark.
And I don't know what to say anymore. But it is, I think, those moments to just kind of have the chance to also understand that this is the association, right? You are part of this group. You are part of it. Yes, there are board members that are speaking. Yes, there's the executive director. Yes, there's the president and the incoming president who are speaking. Those people are speaking to you. They're speaking to the audience. They're not speaking to themselves. They're not speaking just to the board sitting in those front few rows. They're speaking to the whole room. Engage with it and be present for it. On Tuesday, Julia Novak is going to be talking about her Mount Rushmore. There are two people who I am thrilled to hear from as a component of that. Bob O'Neill, who I can recall more than one occasion where Bob would take the stage, take the microphone, and bring the audience to their feet. Bob is the former executive director, CEO of ICMA. He is a legend in and of himself and somebody that you just want to hear from. And then Jan Perkins, who I didn't meet until last year. And the only reason I met her was because I was on the committee and I was assigned to a session that she was facilitating. And I had the chance to get to know her through that. And she is just an amazing professional. Again, to the point made several times, these are not deities someplace up on a hill that you can't get to. They're regular people and they want to engage with you. And you know what? Find them and walk up and shake their hands afterwards.
So I'm gonna close out your Mount Rushmore, Julia Novak's Mount Rushmore. So John Nalbandian is a professor at KU, which is one of the sort of the leading MBA programs in the country. I'm not gonna say the best because I'll start a fight with the NIU, but
no, it's fine. We get it. It's fine.
No,
it's
no. Right. And he was also the mayor of Lawrence, Kansas, and so he really understands the work at a real human level and tells these incredibly rich stories. And the other one is Valerie Lemmy. Valerie Lemmy, I talked about, I shared with folks here, that I live near George Floyd Square, and I was trying to process what that was like as a public servant to be in that. And Valerie Lemmy was one of those humans who sort of helped me understand it in a different context with just such incredible insight. And so I'm really looking forward to that session. And you're right, Phil. So you can sit in the back, and that's an acceptable answer, but the value comes from engaging in the conversation without your phone and feeling what it's like to hear people talk about things that they've spent their whole lives devoted to making better. So that's my pitch. Get in the front row, heckle me if you have to, but if in nothing else, like go and experience it, because sitting in the back, everybody can sit in the back. Not everybody can sit in the front and take something from it. So go be that person instead.
I think Corey and I might try to start a standing ovation for you. We'll see if anybody follows us or if it's just us standing and
Just
clapping
no,
for
no,
you.
no. Just bring Victor Cardenas and just say "Go Lions" just one time.
Well, I think we know enough people between us that we could probably make something happen. So we're by the time we publish this, less than a week out, what are you doing to prepare to get to Tampa, right? Because we talked about the app. What are the things that you're thinking about to make sure you have a great conference experience? Dressing in layers, huge factor. Plan for it. I get Florida's going to be way warm compared to what we in the North are going to be dealing with. But those conference centers get cold, which is why we all love our collection of quarter zips. But what else are you doing to prepare in advance of getting there? I know, Mike, you and I had a really interesting conversation about business cards, which I thought was interesting. So what are you doing?
Well, so I don't bring business cards because I don't feel like I need to network. Like I just meet people and become friends, and that's how I network. It's just like I'm just going to talk to you until you like me, and it's going to be great. But I actually spent some time researching Arthur Brooks. So he's an interesting guy. He is provocative. He's super thoughtful. He's got a great website, and I had never seen him speak. And so uh, I'm not exaggerating. I opened Instagram and I watched a couple of Arthur Brooks little videos. I think they're called reels, or maybe I don't know if they're videos or what. But I
Reels, very
watched
good.
them and then I was like, well, that's interesting. So then I went to his website and I started to read a little bit. So um, I have had the benefit of seeing Amy Cuddy before. Amy Cuddy is terrific. In fact, I'm going to tell one boring story. So you guys know I coach girls softball. Like Amy Cuddy talks about the power of presence, and she actually will go on stage and often strike sort of a Wonder Woman pose, which is like this. So I had a kid on my team who her whole goal in life was to hit a ball into the outfield. And we were 10 years old. So this was like, that would be like hitting a ball out of Yankee Stadium. And it's just like this monumental achievement. And the second to the last game of the season, she put one into the grass and she stood on second base and she struck a pose. And I remember thinking, like, there's real magic in sort of presence. And so Amy Cuddy's going to be great. I've seen Peter Kageyama before. So I actually started to like research speakers just so I could understand what they're going to talk about and like how it's going to apply. And so I did a little bit of like actual prep work of like, what am I walking into? So when I hear it, I'll be able to put it into context based on what I've researched. So for me, I actually spend a little bit of time thinking about what's going to happen and how is it going to apply to what I'm doing. And so I can deepen my learning from it ahead of time.
Um, I I think Mike is guilty of this too, so I don't feel too bad about it, but I pack a lot. So I've begun that process of like assembling clothes because I always want to make sure that I don't run out because I'll dump something on myself, something like that. But those, I would say that sometimes people wonder, like, what's the dress code at the conference? The dress code is business casual. The dress code is not shirt, tie, coat. Do not feel like that is the expectation. 95% of people will not be dressed that way. be comfortable, be professional, dress for the job you want, right? And I would say uh, be most importantly, be comfortable, because you're going to be in a lot of different spaces. So I think that's an important thing. I think a lot about the opportunities to connect with people. So I actually have 6 or 7 meetups already scheduled. Folks who have reached out to me, or I have reached out to, who I've never actually met in real life, only virtually, and some that I want to have conversations with about things that I've read that they're doing that I'd love to get their ideas about. Folks that I'd love to collaborate on a couple of things with, and some people who have just reached out to me and said, "Look, I'd really appreciate it if you've got 10 or 15 minutes to grab a cup of coffee. Could we do that?" Um, so that's a big part of my scheduling, is like thinking about how to have those opportunities for connection. And I'm excited to see some folks who I have known for a long time, but haven't seen in a long time in real life. To see some people who I have known for a long time and have never met in real life for the first time. And so, if that's true for you, if you've collaborated with somebody, make sure, if you know they're going, find you're going to find 15 minutes or 30 minutes to be able to just connect on a personal level, and meet face to face, and enjoy that. So that's a big piece of what I try to do.
Corri?
Those hallway meetings are the absolute best. And I think because I've lived in 3 states now, well, 4 technically, being able to find people from different eras of your career and catch up is like so magical, because it is that one spot where you're like 15 minutes in between sessions. How are you? Like, and you remember when their kids were little and now they're in college. And so it is really, really magical. For me, I'm not over prepping. I think having such a prescribed schedule for 3 years, and I have a little different role because of a partnership I'm part of this year. I'm just actually looking forward to going and being present, like just unapologetically present. And that's something I've not been able to do the past couple years. And for me, that is a little bit of mental prep work, right? You go from I'm hiding from, this professional headline or this experience, or I'm just not in a space where I want to talk to people. Well, 2 years later, I'm not wearing my Austin one, going back to Columbus. I cannot wait to embrace my inner Mike Sable and go meet 1,000 people I will absolutely be better off knowing. And so that for me is the prep work.
Okay, so that's a perfect transition. I get teased a lot for knowing a lot of people, so I close circuit to everybody watching this. Please say hi, because I am desperate to say hi to everybody that I see. And there's an opportunity to do that on Monday. We are going to do a live podcast, probably at the Marriott, just because the logistics are just where we are staying. That's probably the best spot. But we're going to find a time to actually film an episode, and I've previewed this. So um, take time out of the day to come say hi to us. Monday night is always a big night. That's always party night. So all of the ICMA affiliates have a reception. Most of the state associations have a reception. It's really an opportunity to sort of gather in community. And so we're going to meet before that. We're going to do a podcast. So come say hi, get to know us. It's going to be, can I say shit show on a podcast? Am I allowed to swear? It feels like it's going to be one of those, but we're going to make it amazing. Like, we're going to figure it out. No, we've not tested the technology. We've not figured out the technology, but we're going to make it work.
It can't be any worse than just the regular recording process. So,
but like, I think Corri is spot on, right? I mean, the hallway conversations are as important as everything you're going to learn. Like, I can't stress this enough. Like, the value of connecting with people who are in this work. I give one little circuit, like, or one little close tip to folks is, I came from a community that my first time I went, it was a city of about 75,000. We were a suburb of a major metro area. I actually Googled cities of about a similar size in other major metro areas, and I was like, if I see anybody from Lee's Summit, Missouri, I'm gonna go say hi to them because I know they know my problems. Like, and then it's happened. So like, it's a long plane ride. Do the work ahead of time about what's interesting or who's out there or what do I want to learn. Like, you will get more out of the conference when you put something into it. And then the last thing I'll say is the ICMA staff are incredible resources. They are some of the kindest, most generous givers to this profession. They love the work they do. So if you see somebody that says ICMA staff, just grab them, say thank you, and then ask them about their lives because they are also some of the best humans you're going to meet at the conference.
So they're fantastic. I would offer one last 10. And this is a little bit inspired by a practice I know Phil has and something I've started doing. But when you get home and you're overwhelmed because the the airport on Wednesday is like the most fascinating place anyway. It's like the
Oh, yeah.
party never stopped. And so it's fascinating. But then you get home and if you're an extrovert, you've just been refueled permanently. And if you're an introvert or work is just work, you kind of fall back into this groove. But I would challenge you to add one more 10 and handwrite 10 nice to meet you note cards and send them not to the people you know, but to the people you've met. Because the lost art of old school tech, again, less phone time, but I guarantee you the person on the receiving end of that handwritten note card, you will have made a lifelong impression on them. And so that would be my takeaway challenge, that once you get home and settled, the way to kind of keep the magic alive, it's like Phil wearing the Disney hat when you get home. There's a way to reflect back and with a different appreciation of the people who you've met and the kind of relationships that you will build going forward. And that little touch will it's magical.
So, I guess I have to go last, and you guys keep stealing my stuff. Thanks so much for that. And here it is. I'm desperately trying to find something that I posted on LinkedIn at the end of the Pittsburgh conference. And one of the one of the things that I did on the last day, because I was legitimately depressed to leave. I had had an amazing professional and personal experience at that 5 day window of time in that amazing city, which I didn't know anything about until I was there. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I think it's important to underscore, because I think this really kind of speaks to what we have been talking about this whole time. And it says, nearly every moment was spent connecting with my colleagues and friends from my own state, but also with MPA students, senior advisors, early career professionals, LinkedIn friends, members in career transition, leaders of other state associations and affiliates, and even members of ICMA's executive board. To a person, I encountered only a spirit of friendship and support. No one turned down a conversation, and everyone offered honest assessments of their and my challenges and ideas. And that is the ICMA conference, folks. That is what you have the opportunity to experience. It is truly one of those unique times of your career where you are fully immersed with the people who get you, with the people who want to help you, with the people who want to meet you, and just talk. And sometimes you're going to talk shop, and then you're going to find out all sorts of other aspects of your life that are similar, um, life experiences that are similar, hobbies that are similar, family life that is similar, and you will build friendships and you will build relationships and you will feel better when you go home, because This is lonely work. We talk about that. This is hard work. It's made easier when you have those folks who you can fall back on, and who you can reach out to whenever you need to. So I will say this has been an awesome opportunity for us to just kind of riff on something that we all love. Um, I've been looking forward to this particular podcast recording, not because of the subject matter, but because it's been a week and I'm grateful to see the other two faces on the screen that I get to see and I get to spend time with. Um, I want to, I want others to have those kinds of relationships built from places like the ICMA conference. That's where this comes from. That's what you have in front of you. I look forward personally and as a group engaging with so many people in just a few weeks down in Tampa. I can't wait, honestly. I
That
guess
was
that's it
perfect.
for us.
Oh, that was perfect. I 100% agree. I'll see you guys in Tampa.
Sounds like a plan. Take care, everyone. Travel safely.